Hangout is live. Okay, wonderful. Now, I don't normally do hangouts on this channel. This is my fun channel. This is where I just bullshit and make stupid cartoons, nothing. But let me start off by explaining, because a lot of you are probably looking at this. If anybody who looks at this, if you're looking at it from Twitter, you're like, this isn't a strong Latino woman. My Twitter handle is a joke, based on something from the Michael Yo Joe Coy podcast, Eat with Ernie. I made it as a joke, but just continued using this Twitter account for my podcast stuff, because my other one is for my website, which is completely unrelated. And I listen to a lot of podcasts. I think I listen to more podcasts than anybody on the planet. I work third shift at a place where I clean, and I'm allowed to listen to podcasts. So I listen to like 8 hours of podcasts a night, 5 days a week. And I've been listening to Adam Carolla for probably about 2.5 years, not since the beginning, about 2.5 years. And I've been listening to Alison Rosen for probably about a year. Now, when I started listening to Alison Rosen, it was like I really like Adam Carolla's podcast. I try and support him in every way that I can. As you can see, I have 2 bottles of Mangria here. These are actually signed. I met him in Chicago at Binny's. The Binny's near me started selling it around that time. I buy enough Mangria to try and keeping it on the shelf, so that when they look at their numbers, they go, okay, we're selling it consistently enough. We'll reorder. Last Christmas, I went to a Christmas get together with some of the family from my dad's side who has passed away. And it was like me, 2 uncles, my aunts, some cousins. I literally bought like 5 bottles of Mangria, and I gave everybody bottles of Mangria for Christmas to support the pirate ship. Okay, so this isn't coming from somebody who's like, fuck Adam Carolla. I really enjoy Adam Carolla. I've read not Taco Bell material. I've read President Me. I bought President Me on Audible, and I support everything that he does. I really try to. But I started listening to Alison Rosen's show for that exact reason, that I wanted to support the pirate ship. This is one of the shows on his network. I tried to listen to Larry Miller, but I just can't do it. I got to start listening to Jesse Ventura, because I'm a huge fan of his, obviously. Kennedy's death newspaper on the wall behind me. But I started listening to it, and I'll be completely honest where I stand with Alison Rosen's podcast. The interview episodes, I only listen if it's something that I really want to hear. I look through. If it's somebody that I want to hear from, I'll listen to it. I listen to both Joe Coy episodes. I love the Duncan Trussell episodes. When it's somebody that I actually care about, I don't listen to most of them. But the Thursday shows, I listen to every single one. In fact, I consider it my number 2 podcast. My number 1 podcast is 2 Black Women. Bo Bowker, Jeffrey J, and James Ponce. Best podcast out there, in my opinion. Number 2, definitely Alison Rosen is your new best friend. And if I'm being completely honest, it's not even for Alison Rosen. Yes, she's a component. It's not like I listen, I'm like, oh, shut up, Alison. It's not that at all. But I listen because it kind of gives you an inside to the people who work at Adam Carolla, the people like Gary, who you only hear occasionally chime in, say something. Adam retorts back. Gary apologizes. You get to hear from Loxamana. You get to hear from Kaylin. You get to hear from everybody involved in the show. And I've even come to love. Wow, I just totally lost her name. Jenna Kim Jones. I even watched some of her stuff on YouTube and stuff afterwards. I hope that she gets the job on America's Funniest Home Videos. I think she'd be great for it. But I've really come to enjoy this podcast. When I see it coming up, they talk about real things, like the episode with Joe Coy recently where he's talking about his family stuff going on. It was so fucking relevant. Like, there's not a person out there who doesn't relate to that episode. There's not a person out there who doesn't relate to the things that they talk about. It's an amazing, entertaining show. It makes my nights go by much easier. I work third shift, 10:45 p.m. until 6:30 a.m., and I work completely alone with nobody else. If it wasn't for podcasts like Alison Rosen is your new best friend, I wouldn't be able to get through the night. So last night, I turn on her. I had actually downloaded her most recent episode and Adam Carolla's, and this proves the point that I downloaded them both the same night. I get to work and I listen to hers first because I enjoy it more. Not that I don't. I love Adam Carolla's podcast, but honestly, I like Alison Rosen more. And I know I'm probably not her demo. You're looking at me like this fucking adult man with a mustache. Why are you listening to this podcast? Do you watch fucking True Blood too? No, I don't. But I really enjoy the show, and I download it, and it starts off with, as most of you know, probably know, I'm not part of the Adam Carolla Show anymore. I'm like, what the fuck? You're not part of the Adam Carolla Show anymore. What are you talking about? So I listened through the episode, and afterwards I go and I listen to Adam Carolla Show, and he pretty much says the same thing. And frankly, and again, big fan of Adam Carolla. I've even called into Ace on the House before and asked about solar panels. I listened to his show, and frankly, Adam Carolla gives a nothing answer. He says, it just wasn't working out. She doesn't fit in well as a sidekick, and maybe that's a good thing, kind of alluding to one of two things. If this went well, maybe he's saying she needs to be on the front line. She's a host. She's going places. But it didn't sound like that. What it sounded like he was saying is she's full of herself or something like that, and she had to go. And maybe it's a good thing. And he didn't give really much information. I've been reading online a lot of people saying, and I wasn't listening at this point, I'll be completely honest, but apparently somewhere very early on in the show, somebody was let go, and he had him on for one more episode to explain what was going on and why they were being let go and give some closure to the audience, which it sounds dumb. I know. It sounds dumb like, oh, you need closure to why somebody left, but you need to understand. These shows get me through the night at my job. And I look at, if you went to a bar, every single Saturday, you go to this bar every Saturday, it's always the same bartender. You have a rapport with this bartender. They know your name. You know their name. You come in, hey, Kyle. Hey, Matthew, this fictitious bartender. And one day that bartender doesn't work there. You're going to have some questions, right? Why is that bartender fired? And if the owner of the bar gives you a bullshit answer, that's not really good enough. You need more answers than that. And that's kind of where I'm at. If you went to a bar every weekend and your bartender wasn't there and they didn't give you a good answer, you might stop going to that bar, right? And I love Adam Carolla. I love his books. I love his show. I literally have seen every episode of Catch a Contractor. I do everything I can to support him. I even follow fucking Skip Adele on Twitter, okay? Would you stop going to that bar if your favorite bartender got fired and you weren't given a real answer to why that happened? And the answer is possibly. You might. It depends on a lot of factors, but you might stop going to that bar. And I feel like the show is really going to lose something. So I want to get into really quickly why I think the show is going to be losing something without her. And a lot of people say, and I've been reading everything on Twitter, that Alison sometimes cuts into what Adam's saying and it ruins his rants. Now, not everybody out there is as conservative as Adam. So when Adam's going on a super conservative rant, sometimes Alison will jump in and she'll say something that is kind of playing devil's advocate and giving kind of a more liberal view. And, well, what about this? And I think for a lot of people, what that does is a lot of things that some of his listeners are thinking and disagreeing with him on, it gives him a chance to answer to those listeners through her. So I really do think she adds a lot to the show. Is she a main factor in the show? Not really, but she's there, and what she does add, I think, is good. And like I said, when I go to my podcast feed before I go to work, I pick her usually first. And now I'm worried because all these people work for Adam. Are they going to continue being on the show? I read that there was a tweet that got retweeted by everybody. I think it was from Matt Fondelier saying that they're all going to be there on Thursday. But how long will that last? And all of them together is what makes the show. And to me, somebody who listens, every episode that comes out at work, now I feel like the show is kind of threatened. Like, how long will that last for? Are they going to continue? Is Alison going to have to pay them? Is Adam not going to like that they're doing this show? Are they going to have to tiptoe around the Adam Carolla issue? Because they do all work for him. And it's possible that they might be hesitant to even talk about the issue. It might get avoided completely. um, like I said, and I'm not saying that I hate Adam over this, or I'm not gonna like talk shit about Adam, but I will say, as I previously said, I buy Mangria. I've bought fucking, I can't tell you how many bottles of Mangria. I listen to the show. I've called into the show. I recommend the show to people that I know. I talk about the show to other people that I know. Me and my girlfriend, once a year, we go to Ohio to visit my mom, and we listen to the Adam Carolla Show, and Alison Rosen is your new best friend on the way there, as well as Two Black Women, Joe Rogan, and a ton of other podcasts. But I feel like as somebody who isn't, I donated money to Adam's Legal Defense Fund, and I feel like he does owe us a better explanation than this. And it does make me mad because it's one, Alison Rosen is your new best friend, is one of my favorite podcasts, and I don't want to see it get diminished because of personal issues between them. And honestly, Adam Carolla's network, Carolla Digital, has many, many shows that he's not on. He has Jesse Ventura's show. He has Larry Miller's show. He has Dr. Drew's show. He has Penn Jillette's show. And all of these shows, he's not on these shows. They're just on his network. So my other question is, why is Alison Rosen being completely removed from Carolla Digital and being removed from the Carolla empire? I mean, the explanation that he gave, that she just wasn't a good fit for the news girl and as a sidekick, and that maybe that's a better thing. Well, maybe that is, but if that's so, then why are you removing Alison Rosen as your new best friend, which has already been removed from the Carolla Digital website? And I know I'm sounding like some fucking crazy fan right now, but like, I listen, these shows get me through cleaning shit all night at work. It really makes my job 150% easier. So why is she being removed completely from the equation? Maybe that was her choice. I mean, we'll have to hear, because I'm trying to look at it both ways. And if my boss came to me and said, I'm removing you from your job, but you can still have your show on my network, I might very well say, hey, fuck you, I'll take my show to a different network. And I see a few people are watching, so if anybody wants to join in, if anybody else has comments, my name is at Cara Sudar Bruta, CaraCudarbruta on Twitter. It's a joke name. You can send me a PM if you want to join in, because I'd like to hear other people's comments, honestly, because my girlfriend, who, by the way, I've been with for 10 years, we own a house together, and she's like, why do you give a fuck so much about her getting fired from the show? And it's nothing like, I really enjoy the show, and it really upset me. I was listening last night, and when I hear her come on, and she sounded sad on the beginning of the Joe Coy episode, she legitimately sounded sad. Like, as she sounded like she was about to cry, saying that she's no longer with Carolla Digital. I really feel like she enjoyed their job there, and I feel like majority of people who watch that show or listen to that show do enjoy her being there. I enjoy the news segment. I enjoy her adding in and stuff, just like I would anybody else on any other show. If Brian Redband was fired from Joe Rogan, I would have probably a similar response. But it seems like this was about something more, maybe something personal between her and Adam. She didn't get any last words. She didn't get a chance to really say anything. She was fired just right there, which I understand. In radio, if you're on a radio show and they decide to fire you, obviously they don't tell you that you're fired until after your show's over, because they're scared about you going on the air and saying something crazy. But Adam Carolla is pre-recorded. They could have had her on to at least say goodbye, explain things, maybe say her point of view, give her one last chance to plug her show, and say where people can find her. I mean, I will say she was able to get that last episode with Joe Coy, which shows that at least Adam gave her that, unless there was some crazy CIA shit where she broke in and stole it or something. But I don't know. It seems really weird. And I wonder, too, if it has something to do with her talking a lot about, like, pregnancy and being married and stuff, which honestly, that's things that a lot of people can relate to that Adam can't really talk to. So if she adds that in, fucking 2 minutes per episode, maybe that brings in a few extra viewers. I was interested by that. Like I said, I've been with my girlfriend for a long, long time. We've moved in together, and I like to hear about how couples are doing in their first year of marriage and what's going on with them. And we've been talking about kids, so I like to hear somebody else's thoughts on having kids. And I really do think that she added something good to the show. Another thing that I read from somebody on Twitter was that, and this is a valid point, I think, that Adam said, well, she just really wasn't a good fit. She's not a good sidekick. She wasn't vibing with the people there. Well, that's kind of bullshit, just straight up, the vibing with other people there, which he said on Twitter, because all the other people were on her show and they mesh perfectly together, making a show that I'm very angry is threatened now, obviously. So if they didn't vibe well, then why did that show work so amazingly? And if she wasn't a good fit, and if she wasn't a good sidekick, why did it take you 3 years to decide that? She was with the show as long as I've been listening to it. That kind of bothered me. So I'm doing this not really for Alison Rosen, not for Adam Carolla, but for myself, just so I can kind of hear myself think. Because this is something that really bothered me. In the same way that it would bother me if somebody left the Joe Coy show or Joe Rogan show, or if Dan Carlin fired Ben, if there is a Ben. So I don't know. And I've heard some people, and I think they said it in kind of a joking way, that maybe he was getting upset because like there were Bobo boys calling into the show, which I only heard happen 2 times. Some followers, but I only heard that happen like twice. But some people made the joke that maybe he was mad that she was stealing the thunder because Alison Rosen is your new best friend is getting fairly popular. And I have to admit, as somebody who's called into the show, I was considering calling in and giving a little Bobo boy, ooh, ooh. And I'm really glad to see that the guys apparently are going to stick with her, at least for now. That was posted on Twitter that they will be back for the Thursday show. Now, I don't know if that's their last show, if this was pre-recorded before she got fired. I don't know. And I have to admit, part of the reason that I'm doing this little HOA hangout on air is because I'm sitting here, I'm watching some shows on Hulu Plus, and all I can think about is like, what the fuck is going to happen to one of my favorite podcasts? Like, I'm sure there's people out there who listen to podcasts at work or listen to podcasts to get through just really fucking boring activity. And I'm sure those people are feeling the same way. Like, what's going to happen to this podcast that I love? And I'm sure that Alison Rosen will do fine on her own. I hope she gets a TV show. Personally, I think she should do a cartoon. I think she should do an animated series based on the conversations from Alison Rosen Is Your New Best Friend. Like, I don't know how you would do it exactly, whether it would be her and her husband, or maybe her and everybody from the show lives together in an apartment complex. And what are you doing there? I'm making a butter sandwich. There's no such thing as a butter sandwich. I don't know. I'm not a writer. But I hope that she does something much, much better. And when I told my girlfriend, which she follows Alison Rosen on Facebook and has listened to quite a few of the shows, she said, maybe this is for the best because it'll unleash her to do more things. So I can DM you? Yes, I will follow you. Do you have to follow somebody for them to DM you? I didn't know that was a thing. But I hope that she does do something more because I know I literally feel like a gay person saying this, because you can see I'm an adult male with a mustache and a fucking Billy Jack poster. And it's like, why am I ranting about listening to Alison Rosen Is Your New Best Friend? But it really has become, when I go to work, I use Podkicker on my phone. I listen to podcasts at work. I put one headphone in so I can hear people and stuff when customers come in. And it's like Two Black Women, fuck yeah, my favorite podcast ever. Downloading that, first thing I listen to. And then Alison Rosen Is Your New Best Friend. And then probably Joe Rogan, then Adam and Dr. Drew, then Adam Carolla Show. And that's another thing that I just randomly thought of, that I really, really hope that Dr. Drew gives Adam some shit, because you could tell that Dr. Drew liked Allison. I hope that he does. I hope that Dave and Alan Greer does. I hope that a few people fucking say something to him. Even Joe Coy, which some of the guests, I'm not going to hold it against any of the guests if they don't say anything because they want to get invited back. That's obvious. But I really hope that some of these people say something to him, because, and I'm not hating on Adam Carolla, I just think that he made a really, really bad choice. And the sad thing is that this choice has already been made. You can't go back and say, hey, want to come back to the show, because it's entirely based upon talking and interaction with each other. And I'm sorry if my boss fired me in a rage of passion or whatever the case may be. I'm not claiming to know in any way. I don't know any more than anybody else. It would be tough for me. What, you're gonna be a little bit, you're not gonna be happy. You're not just gonna, oh, okay, everything's fine now and it's back to normal. So really, it's ended and it's over. And I hope Allison's podcast is able to do well enough that she's able to pay those guys to come back. And I'm trying to look for the positive in it, that maybe it will do better, and Adam won't get his cut from it anymore. And like he said on his show today, that the best way to show your boss up is to do better than them in the future. Maybe her show will do better, and maybe she'll be able to pay them, and they'll be dual employees. And Adam will forevermore have to deal with the fact that he fucked up and now his employees also work for this other person, which is causing a slightly awkward rift. And I think that's the best thing that we could hope for. I hope that she continues to get good celebrity guests, which I think all of us need to help out with. I would ask, not that she's watching this, but that Allison say who she wants to interview, so that her Twitter following and her Instagram following and the people who follow her on social networks can go out and help her get those guests. Because let's be real, you're not going to get Joe Coy without Adam Carolla. She used that as a way to get good guests for her own show, which I think was great, because Joe Coy, who's hilarious, he's a great comedian. He doesn't open up on Adam Carolla's show or on his own show or in his stand-up the way that he did on Alison Rosen's show on the 2 episodes that he was on, which you should check out at AlisonRosen.com, which I don't think you would be watching this if you didn't know that. But it is a benefit, because you get to see the inside of these people and the inside workings of Carolla Digital, which I feel like even if those guys stick around, now we're really going to lose that. I got a DM. I think somebody... I am obsessed with the topic. No, I didn't see Lynette's tweets last night. Somebody is tweeting me. Let me send them a link and see if they want to jump in. This is really awkward because my microphone is so far back. All right, there we go. It's nice to have fancy equipment. Let me send them this. Close this. I got all this stuff. It's really fancy. I'm really considering sending Alison Rosen some of this equipment so she can continue her podcast. Here. I want to look up Lynette's. How do you spell Lynette? There we go. Lynette. I didn't see this. Now I am curious. Lynette Carolla. I looked up everybody's, but I didn't even think to look up Lynette Carolla's, because honestly, I don't listen to her podcast. Holy shit, that's Lynette Carolla? That is not what I expected. All right, let's see. Been 2 long weeks. Warm at the heart. Allison Bedell. Adam Carolla. Let's go to tweets and replies, because sometimes Twitter's weird. It doesn't show you everything all the time. I'm glad to see that somebody else and some people are kind of like pissed off, because obviously I've had more views on this right now as I'm talking than I have on anything else. It looks like I'm joined by somebody. I don't know if they... Oh, I should probably fucking plug this in. I'm dumb. I'm all fucking around with my different setup. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. All right, I'm glad to have somebody to talk about this with, because honestly, when you listen to podcasts, not that many people listen to podcasts, and so it's like I'm so fucking steamed about this, but there's nobody who understands. So, are you a fan of Adam Carolla and Allison?
Yes, I have been listening to Adam and Allison. Sorry, I'm getting like double feedback from your line.
Here, let me see. Test. Are you wearing headphones? That might be why.
Yeah, I'm wearing headphones. Should I take them off?
No, you should have headphones on. You're
Okay.
doing well. Here, let me turn that
Oh,
down.
wait, I know what's wrong. Okay, here we go. Okay.
You motherfucker. I'm just kidding.
So, yeah, I'm a huge Adam Carolla fan and Allison, and was just shocked, really, yesterday. So, last night, about 12:15 a.m., Adam tweeted out, sorry if you guys are upset, something along those lines, and then in the thread, Lynette ended up responding, and she said that there's something more to it, that Adam's taking the high road.
Really? So, and
Yeah.
and this is something that I was thinking, which I love them both, so I hate to think of anything negative from either of them, but is it a possibility that maybe like Allison was getting kind of like big in the head and like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
maybe she was asking for more money, maybe she was asking for more time on the a bigger percentage from her show. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it had to come down to money or something. And, Carolla doesn't need Allison. I understand that, but I just thought that the explanation didn't sit well with me, and it definitely. And then Allison seemed upset. I agree, but she also seemed like it was a good thing for her. So I think she wasn't fulfilled in that position as well. And I think Adam had to make that tough decision, but I just wish that we could know everything because Allison is so open. So
And,
yeah.
yeah, and she said on the episode before, because somebody sent in a question asking like the 5-year plan, where do you see yourselves in 5 years? And I agree, she did sound like kind of like not here. I want to be doing something bigger, right?
Right.
So I don't know. For me, it's like I listen to every show that comes out at work from both of them and other podcasters, and for me, it's like it's you're ruining a good thing for me. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know who's right, and I know that Adam can be a bit of an asshole, and I acknowledge that as a fan of his. But and I think that he did do if it is something like that where it's something personal and it's something between them, an argument or whatever it is, he could have very easily did a 10-minute rant about it and been a complete dick, and he didn't do that. But as a fan, like you feel like you were kind of owed more, right?
Yeah, and the other thing is, it was ironic, I thought, that he was talking about how Tim Conway needed to have a farewell or a goodbye to his audience, but then Allison didn't have the opportunity to say goodbye. So I don't know. It just seems fishy to me.
Which that's another thing, and we will find out because you know that both of them are going to talk about it going on, especially since Twitter is fucking exploded. But is it possible, and this is something that I thought about, that it was I can't it's tough because the personalities are that Alison Rosen is very passive with things and very friendly, where Adam Carolla is very assertive and at times can be a dick, especially when he knows that he's right. And is it possible, though, that he offered her that and she said no, and possibly that he offered her to stay on the network and she said no?
Yeah, what I can't understand is that he said it wasn't a good vibe for me and the crew because I
Yeah,
thought she had such a great relationship with everybody on the crew.
yeah, that absolutely can't be true. I mean, I'm sorry. I listen to Alison Rosen is your new best friend, and you can tell when people on a podcast don't like each other or when they don't really get along, even with talk radio, whatever it is. And all of those people truly did get along. There's no doubt in my mind that was not a fake relationship that they had.
Yep. And I saw that David Wild tweeted about Allison
Yeah.
yesterday, Deaf Frat Guy. So I think
That
everyone's.
frat guys I wasn't very happy with because he kind of almost seemed like he was like, I don't care about Alison Rosen, don't steal my co-host.
Oh, yeah, I guess. Yeah. But
Which, yeah.
yeah, I thought he was somewhat supportive of her, but I don't think anyone's going to. I think people are going to be too afraid to bring it up to Adam on the show. So.
Well, apparently, and I read some stuff on Reddit. I feel like such a crazy person. Like, I checked Reddit and Twitter and everybody shit, but people were saying that they called in on that episode, and whoever answered the phone, who I assume was Gary, said that Adam was not taking questions on the topic, so he
I'm
did
sure,
not want to
yeah.
talk about it. Which is kind of understandable. You want to move on with the show and get on with your life, but I I don't know. I mean, how do you listen to the show personally? Like, I said at the beginning of this hangout, like, I work at night alone cleaning shit, and it's like, without podcasts, my job would suck. So when I hear that one of my podcasts is getting messed up, which potentially now the gang might separate, the Bobo Boys might not be there forever, and they especially can't talk about Adam, like,
Yeah. Well, I don't think that I mean, if they want to keep their jobs at Carolla Digital, I don't think that they would be smart to continue, really. But I did also see Jenna Kim Jones wants to do something with Allison, and I think in the long run it is the best thing for Allison, and maybe she just wasn't able to make that decision, and Adam just knew that she wasn't fulfilled, she wasn't happy, and she needed to move on. But they must have gotten into an argument or a fight about something. It just seems like something went down. Oh, and then Allison also said she was surprised as everybody else when she got the call that she wasn't coming back.
and that leads me to another thing, which was one of my first thoughts, is did the rest of the gang from Alison Rosen is your new best friend, minus Jenna Kim Jones since she doesn't work there, did they know about this ahead of time?
I think it was all done over the break, is my sense.
But, I mean, Adam would have had to have talked to somebody about this before he made this decision, and, like,
Right.
I've listened to the show enough to know that, like, Gary probably would have known, right?
Yeah, and what about Bald Brian? What does he think about this? Because he always seemed to really like Allison as well, I thought.
I got the vibe that Brian didn't like her.
Okay.
I got the vibe just because, like, whenever Allison would say anything that Bald Brian would say in response was a very short answer, like, kind of very dismissive. The only drops that he ever played of Allison were her sounding dumb, like, what was the one about her fiance? My fiance Daniel, like, stuff like that. So, I got the vibe personally, and you might be right, but I got the vibe that Bald Brian didn't like her.
Well, I think maybe he has a lot more influence than on Adam, because someone must have not liked her on the crew, and it's not Gary, it's not, Chris. I
don't know the situation there, but I feel like anybody who was on her show would have easily had the choice not to be on her show. Like, I don't feel like they were paid anything extra. Maybe they were, but I feel like they had no obligation to be on that show if they didn't want to be.
Right, and she may not have been paid at all or very, very little, I'm thinking, because...
I have a feeling that she was getting a percentage. Adams talked about how the situation with Ray, where Ray wanted to be paid $100 an episode. I have a feeling that she might have gotten a percentage from that, and in a way, this might be good for her because... One, this has sparked up a ton of publicity. Like, people who didn't listen to her show are definitely listening this week and next week to try and figure out what happened because she's more likely to tell the honest truth than Adam is. So, and now, because she said she's got her own ads, make sure to re-bookmark because they're new Amazon ads and stuff, she's getting all of the money now, where she might have been getting all the money before, but I doubt it. I'm sure he was taking something from it.
So have you listened to Adam as long... Like, I know he had a conflict with his best friend growing up that I've read some articles about, and then what went down with Danny Bonaducci. I've only been listening.
Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
And that's because he said that his friend growing up, if I'm remembering correctly, claimed to have come up with the idea for him to do the podcast.
That's right. Yep.
And then and he said that he kind of cut him out after a while, but that I can see being completely reasonable because if you like everything that Adam says about his friends and hearing Ray talk and stuff, his friends are kind of fucking bums. And I could see that where you have an idea with a friend and the friend comes up with the idea, but you're the one who follows through with it, and it's like, well, what do I owe you because you didn't do anything with it?
Right. And I do agree with Adam. Like, Adam's the talent, you know? And Allison also, I thought, was being sort of mentored by Adam to be the talent as well.
Sure, sure.
But I guess it just, yeah, I think maybe over money or something came up, but it does, I've always kind of blindly taken Adam's side on all these conflicts, except for this one. This one I feel more torn and, you know, an allegiance to Allison, and I feel like she did a good job. She showed, it wasn't like she didn't show up, or some people had said they thought she had changed, and I definitely think, you know, with the dog thing, for
Sure,
me,
sure.
it was a bit much, but
But you know, and what I was saying earlier is, and maybe it's just me and my personal situation, but I think that she was adding more and more because, and you can check my Twitter. I sent a picture to Allison. I have a 3.5 pound Chihuahua, so her talking about these issues with small dogs and how it's kind of dangerous to have them around big dogs because of their instincts and stuff. I actually took a lot from that. Like, oh shit, I have to be careful with my dog around big dogs, and I have to check her. What was it? The kidneys, I think, and I have to
right.
I have to keep an eye on these things. And with like the getting married and having kids, like I'm 25. I've been with my girlfriend for 10 years, and we have a house together. We're both still young. We're talking about getting married and having kids and beginning our lives. So when I hear that stuff, I was really listening. Like, okay, here's somebody else's perspective, somebody a little bit older than me. You know, I actually really enjoyed that stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so I finally found Lynette, some of her tweets.
Okay.
Okay, so they asked, you know, what are your thoughts on this? And she said, oh, lots of thoughts. He's taking the high road and again gets labeled the bad guy. He had no choice.
So I mean that lends to the idea, which I hate. It's so hard for me to think, but maybe she was asking for more money. Maybe she, because like I'll compare it to something in my life. I have a friend who is in a band. He's in a different band now, but his first band that he was started was called the Pipers, and it was him. He was a little bit older. I think he was about 20 at the time, and the rest of the people in his band were like 17, 18, and they were actually doing really, really, really well. They were starting to play at bigger and bigger bars, starting to get some gigs at clubs and stuff, and gain a real following. And their singer was a girl who was younger. I think she was 17. And as the band started to get bigger, she kind of started to get bitchy and say things like, you guys would be nothing without me. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm trying to look at both sides equally. As much as I'm on board with you, like most of the things, 99% of the things that Adam says, I'm like, right on, fucking A. Like, but this one thing, like, I was like, whoa, hold up, you know? Like, how is this possible? But is it possible that maybe she was getting that, she was getting into her head a little bit, thinking she was bigger than she was, and he had no choice?
Yeah. And I think Lynette was also, you know, a fan of Allison's as well. And it sounds like she's definitely turned the corner on that. So I don't know.
And there's a little bit, I mean, I'm trying to look at like every different angle, and as much as Lynette might have been a fan at the beginning, like, and please don't take this with any disrespect whatsoever, but like spending that much time, especially on the road with another woman, like Lynette might have been a little bit jealous, and that might have influenced her response on Twitter too.
Yeah. Well, literally, just the fact that he called Allison baby girl, that is just such an affectionate term. And
Yeah.
I just thought he had such like a fondness for her and was trying to like mentor her and help her in her career. And I just, yeah, something changed, you know.
And that's the thing, is there was like, it seemed like everything was great. Like when, like I said, I listened to Alison's show first, and then I listened to the Joe Coy Alison Rosen show, and right after it I listened to the Patton Oswalt Adam Carolla show. And when she said that at the beginning of the episode, like, as many of you probably already know, I'm now with Carolla Digital. I literally was like cleaning shit at work, and I stopped, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, are you kidding me? Like, where did that come from? You guys were doing great.
Yeah, it was crazy. Hey, I have to run. I've got an appointment at 11, but it was great chatting with you.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining in. It's good to get somebody else's input.
Okay, we'll talk soon. Bye.
Definitely. Well, I'm glad to have had her on. I don't know if she wants me to say her Twitter handle on the air or not. I also wanted to mention that I was very happy to see Bo Bowker, who is two black women, and I highly suggest anybody watching this who's a podcast fan, go check out Two Black Women. It's on iTunes, it's on Podkicker, Stitcher, all that. Check out their podcast because that's my number one. That's the best podcast I found. And again, like how I like Alison Rosen is your new best friend a little bit more than I like Adam Carolla's podcast. I found out about Two Black Women from Joe Coy's podcast because they're like his sidekicks in that show. And I think that their show is better. Not that I don't like Joe Coy and Michael Yo. Their show is great too. Calm down. But definitely check that out. And I'm very happy that Bo Bowker at Bo Bowker on Twitter. I'm glad that he chimed in and said something because he kind of has a connection, and he's mentioned on the show before that he listens to why am I getting that? He listens to Adam Carolla a lot. He's referenced a few things that he said. So I think that I'm gonna end this. I think I've said my piece. I hope that everything goes well for Alison Rosen. I hope that it wasn't some horrible falling out between her and Adam Carolla. I'm very disappointed. I love both shows and wanted to see them continue as they were into fruition into the future. But hopefully her show continues going on. Hopefully the Boys, ooh, hopefully they don't leave her back because they really do make the show, in my opinion. If anybody has any comments on anything I said or any information or anything, please leave it as a comment on this. This will be immediately posted afterwards automatically on YouTube. I am really curious other people's information, other people's comments, what they think, because I read a lot of stuff on Twitter that I hadn't even really thought about, and stuff on Reddit that I was like, wow, that's a different insight. And like I said, I really can't imagine, and maybe it's just the personalities, but I can't imagine that Alison Rosen was the problem here. And I hope that somehow it was what I'd like to hear is that it was a mutual agreement, and Alison Rosen said to him, I want to move on to do better things. And Adam Carolla said, okay, I wish we still had you at the show, but you have to go on and spread your wings. But I know that's not the case. So please comment. I'm not going to ask for anybody to subscribe or anything because this video isn't about that. But hopefully we get some answers. Thank you. I'm Kyle Phillips. I did that wrong. I definitely did that wrong. Let's try again. I'm Kyle Phillips. Bye.